look, I think if you're a public figure, and I'm talking about the Edwin Tong video now, right? If you are a public figure, you have to expect that this kind of stuff happens. And, the issue is not that there was a video taken and not that there was a video put up, and not even that different media outlets, some of the media outlets which are very obviously anti-government or anti-Edwin Tong, had put up this video with captions that had kind of alluded to the fact that he wasn't well received. All of this, I think I can accept as a public person. The one thing that I think we needed to maybe talk about is the impact that these sharings have on some of the regular non-public figures, the volunteers who are also captured in this video. In Edwin Tong's video, one of the volunteers, the movements he had made, which was to point into the camera, had been slowed down with the illusion that he was not being friendly, right? And I think other people can take that meaning and make inferences. To be fair, no media has made an inference specifically, but alluded to inferences that can be made. And eventually, he was doxxed. Not a full doxing. I don't think we know his address. But
do you want to explain doxing for those who might not know?
Yeah. So doxing in this context being that either in forums or on social media, people want to find out who this guy is, what is his name, where does he work. A full doxing would be where does he live, who his parents are, et cetera, et cetera.
And put out the details.
Yeah, put out the details. And just as someone who leads a team of many, many volunteers and does walkabouts a lot, it does, remind me that, hey, look, I am responsible for how these people are seen in public. And I think people who kind of perpetrate these videos need to be a bit careful about the impact that these things have on people who may not be looking for, public fame.
Right. I mean, I don't think I disagree with anything that you said there. Right. I think.
Well, then podcast over.
Podcast over. Right? Happy for you. But I do think it's worth discussing a little bit more, just because, like you said, we're not the first ones to have discussed this issue. It has been discussed almost in exhaustion. Some people might not even have heard about it. That's how inconspicuous some of these things are nowadays in social media.
Yeah.
Whether it appears or not on your algorithm feed. But there has been discussions on what the role of videos, media outlets that carry videos, people who take videos, in this sense, accelerate and slow down or even manipulate some of these videos. What does that actually mean and in what context, right? And I think the reason why we do this podcast is to unravel or unpack some of what this means. Not only for the video, but also why this is important for the next few weeks or next few months leading up to what could possibly be a general election.
So for some reason, you find this video very important.
Yes. I mean, the fact that we've talked about this for like over a week now, I think it's something that we need to discuss, because I don't think there was anything wrong in everything that has happened.
Well, I don't think there was anything illegal done.
Right.
That's for sure.
Right.
And I agree. There's nothing illegal, but I don't think there's one party that is fully responsible. And I think this is a situation where we can also, no real harm was done to the guy lah. But from a principled perspective, we don't know in another situation if this was a different volunteer who just had pointed out, hey, you missed this table, and that shot was manipulated and doxed. Would that have meant, cause some grief to a person? I think we need to take a principled approach as a society on how we treat people who are very clearly public figures and who are very clearly not.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's where the distinction is, right? Because yes, doxing is bad. Having someone's peace taken away from them because people leaked your details is definitely wrong. In fact, POHA, the Prevention of Harassment Act, stipulates that is illegal.
Online harassment, yeah.
Online harassment, that is illegal. So that is the caveat here. But there also needs to be space and oxygen for people to want to put out stuff that they agree or disagree with.
Yeah.
To me, that is the bedrock of a healthy conversation ecosystem.
Yeah.
What I think is important for this is there's a context that I think might have been missed by a few people.
Oh, that's your agenda.
I think that's just facts, right? I think when the EBRC report comes out, many people in this country maybe felt that there was gerrymandering taking place. We can go into that for a separate episode. That's not what this podcast is about. Some people felt, in particular for the Marine Parade Bradle, GRC, that the seeding of some SMCs and the removal of other SMCs meant that PAP had leveraged some kind of an advantage, depending on whatever side of the view you are.
Yeah.
And so this particular person who took the video, made this video, he took and cut different images and video shots of Edwin Tong meeting different people in a hawker center, in a coffee shop, clearly trying to highlight the fact that there was maybe not as favorable of a response that the minister was getting.
Again, totally fine.
Yeah. In which we are in agreement with.
That I think everyone has the right to put up videos like this, yes?
Correct.
Yeah.
And he particularly slowed down in two moments in that video.
Yes.
One with an older person who moves what seems to be like a middle finger. Honestly, I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't really look
and
like
it's
it.
not actually pointed at Minister Edwin Tong. It's pointed in a different direction. And at the ending shot, you see this particular volunteer come to the minister and say something and point towards the camera. And then the shot, the video ends with the person who takes the video in a nice kind of happy pose with Minister Edwin Tong.
Yeah.
Right. And so people have said that the guy who's made the pointing had looked very angry, looked very stern. Was he trying to highlight that there was an angry table, or was he trying to pinpoint something while pointing? These were the kind of questions. Now, I checked with Wake Up Singapore, one of the media outlets that carried this footage. They say they didn't make any adjustments to the video.
Yeah.
They took it and they put it up.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. There shouldn't be an issue of how we control or regulate who puts up videos. Yes, Wake Up Singapore has had all kinds of agendas. And I think what they were trying to do is boost this particular person's video. But then the question that for me, I guess is something that we probably want to talk about is, if we are going to try and protect volunteers, it's interesting for me to hear your view, because you've walked the ground with volunteers. You've spoken to people and volunteers' health has helped you. Is it right to point? That's one of the things that I hear come out quite a lot. Are you okay with that if your volunteers do it? How do you deal with that? And if someone takes a video of your volunteer, maybe not in this case it's pointing, but maybe in a not so glamorous position, maybe you're discussing or sharing some views, would you go and tell members of public to not take a video? Like, has someone who's done this before, how would you deal with a situation like that?
Well, look, first, you're right to say that none of the media outlets have doctored this video, which is true. I think we all can agree. But there are media outlets out there who have a political slant, who have taken the video, posted it as is, but add captions that would drive the viewer to kind of question the meaning behind the video. Okay, so I want to make that clear, right? It's not like a video was like, hey, look at this video. It's look at this video, the reception of this guy.
But echoing the sentiments of the guy who put out that video, right?
Absolutely.
It's not a narrative that they created on their own.
Actually, the guy who put out the video came back to say that the narrative is very different. The guy who put out the video, he eventually came back and said, no, I just wanted to show that, look, from my perspective, there are better ways, or this wasn't the best way to engage with residents. He never said residents were not receptive to Edwin Tong.
He said the MPS session could have been done slightly differently or better, right?
Sure, yeah, but that's very different from saying they're not receptive.
Yeah, I don't think he was talking about Wake Up Singapore or TOC. I think he was talking about members of public who went on social media and started to attack this guy. That they took the frame out of conversation.
Or whatever. Look, so that's one. I think that these videos, it's in the right of any media agencies who put it up, as long as it's not a lie, to frame any video they want. I think that's totally fair in Singapore. I have no objection to that. On the volunteer question, I mean, you pose an interesting question, right? Like, just like the Shan video, just like this video, when you are in a public place, anyone has the right to take the video of that area and anyone in it. And so I don't have any issue with my volunteers or volunteers showing up in videos. I think it's normal and it is expected. The additional care we have to take is not about like one person points or one person like that. It's the impact that an editing or illusion of the video will have on someone later on. So actually, I mean, this is an issue that even I hadn't really thought so deeply about until the video came out, right? And so when I talk to my volunteers, the next time I have the chance, it's going to be like, hey, just remember, we are in a branch in an opposition ward, people will be paying attention. Let's just remember to behave in a way that you will be okay with if people take the video and put it up, right? Because ultimately the responsibility of their well-being when they're with me is on me lah. And so I want to make sure that, you know, nothing untoward happens. Certainly, if anyone gets doxxed, any of my volunteers do get doxxed for something that I have done or for a reception that I have, I would find that incredibly unfair because they are there just to help. You know, people do this for different reasons, right? People want to volunteer because they really care for a particular issue or they want to see, want to engage with the community and run programs.
But I think that there's a question there, right? Like, you know, you're obviously a branch chair and there's a chance you might run for this election, or you've been with other MPs who have been going around and asking for views. Now, because you're a volunteer and you're helping a politician, you've chosen to align yourself with this particular politician. And you are seen in public with the politician. Does that not make you fair game for a little bit of criticism?
Yeah. Look, I think the issue is that the criticism, the concern I find here is that the criticism that this guy got is not for doing anything really wrong. He got doxxed for just like pointing the finger somewhere, and you know, we just see a bit of the video. We don't know the full situation. Like, okay, if someone actually misbehaved, like this PSP and PAP video that came out earlier in January, where both sides took videos of each other seeming to be a bit aggressive. I mean, that stuff happens, that stuff gets out. I would find it hard to defend the position I have now in that, right? But the position, what I'm saying is like, these guys didn't do anything to warrant being doxxed. Yeah, and in situations like this, which is the most common situation, people are just helping me, handing me a flyer so I can give it out to someone, helping me take down some notes. These people are not publicly put out there. They're volunteers. They're not paid. There's no public-facing agenda that they have.